So today is ID badge holder day. I have quite a few of them, and these ones are all made in the bigger hoop. These are a 5x7 hoop. However, I have a new one that is for the 4x4 hoop, and it is just a little bit smaller, as you can see, than the other one. And it does not come with the snap tab because it's just too small for that in that hoop. However, it comes with the slot top, and it will be coming in the eyelet. And in the back here is where you slide in the card. And there we go, slides right in. You see it fits in the front. And in the back there's also the option to add 2 card pockets. So you can put your rewards cards or your other cards for lunch that you want to keep in there. And that is what it will be on today. For this project, we are going to need a piece of clear vinyl. I use around a 12 to 20 mil. You can use what you want. I wouldn't go thinner than that though. We need 2 pieces of vinyl, one for the front, one for the back. And if you want, it's an option to be able to add 2 pockets to the back for cards. There's a template that comes with the pattern. I've just glued it on the back to cut it out. So you cut out your template and then you cut out your pattern piece with that. So we need one that looks like this, and then we need the other pocket piece which will butt up to it, and it is just a flat piece. And that is what we need for this one. First thing is the placement stitch. Okay, the placement stitch was run. It might be a little hard to see on there, but I run it, as you can see, so that I run it without thread, and I get holes in my tearaway stabilizer. The next thing we have to do is take it back to the cutting table, and I'll show you what we're doing there. For the next step, we need to extend some lines for the pockets. So what you see here is the placement stitch, and I have outlined 2 stitches, this one and this one over here. It goes like this and it goes like this, and those are placement stitches to help line it up with the next hoop. And we need to draw, there's a couple of other stitches or placement marks, this one and this one, this one and this one, and those are for the pockets, but they need to be drawn outwards so that they can be seen when the material is put on, and then they can be used to line up. So what you do is you put your ruler on and you just extend those lines. Okay, now that those have been extended, we can add the back piece of vinyl, and it goes right on top. And as you can see the 2 placement lines for the pocket. As well, it is helpful, there's another one at the bottom for a placement line, and I put that there if you want to line up, that is the center of the ID holder, and if you want to line up some sort of material that has a design on it that you want kind of centered, then that would be the line to use. But I'm also going to be using that so that I can place the pocket. So I'm just going to extend that, and that way I can use it to help place the pocket after this is put on. You can see the center and you can see where the pockets have to go. And now we have to spray this and put it on or tape it down. So I gave mine a little spray, and I'm going to put that on, covering all. Give it a little piece of tape. And then we need to take it back to the machine. Now that that is done, I'm going to take it out and put the pocket on. Now that those two lines have been run at the top, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the pocket. So you take the pocket and you find the center. Just so you know where the center is, you can mark it, the little pen mark or chalk. And then you need to line it up in the center area and across where these lines at the top meet. I'm just going to get some tape and tape that down. And it's going to stitch across the bottom for this one. So the bottom piece holding in that pocket is run, and now we need to add the other piece. Now that the first pocket piece has put down, we need to add the second pocket piece. So the second pocket piece goes right up and butts right to the bottom of the first pocket piece, and it lines up with the other lines. And you don't want it overlapping, you just want it butting up to it. A good butt up though, nice and tight. And then you tape those in place. And then we go back to the machine and we will run the bottom stitch, and that will keep that in place. And it will also do a stitch at the top to help place it in the next hoop. Okay, hoop number 1 is now done. Alright, to finish off hoop number 1, we just need to cut it out of the stabilizer, and I have moved the tape that was on the sides to the front so that these two pocket pieces will be held into place much better. And we need these lines underneath that were the original placement stitches so that we have a better way to attach or line it up with the second hooping. So I will just give this a little cutout. Okay, so this is cut out, and if you don't want the tearaway stabilizer inside of it, then you can just go ahead and tear it away. But try and leave those stitches intact so that you can have something to line up to. Now that I have taken away the tearaway stabilizer, you can still see a little bit is left there. However, I still have lines on the back that I can see up top and at the very bottom here, so that I will be able to line this up with the next piece. Those lines are still there. And then the next thing we have to do for this piece to finish it off is actually cut the hole at the top where the card will be able to slide into. So you go, where is it? So you go between these two lines up here, and you cut a little hole at each end, and then you slit down the center of that. There we go. So you can see now that that is where the card is going to be able to slide in and out. And now we are done this piece and set it aside so that we can do the hooping of the second piece. This will be the placement stitch for hoop number 2. So this is the hoop number 2, and I went ahead and I did the same thing. I outlined it so that you can see the placement lines for the other hooping, and then I just marked the center again. You don't need to mark these two because we've already put the pockets on the other one. And the next thing we have to do for this is we need to put the next piece of vinyl on and run the stitch that is going to tack it down. Okay, the next thing we need to do, and normally I wouldn't take it out, but let me just show you this. So we have the same kind of thing as the other one, the 2 placement lines. And now what we need to do is we need to run the stitch that we are going to be cutting around for the window. Okay, the window is done, and now we need to cut it out. The easiest way I have found to cut out the window is an X-Acto knife and a ruler. You can use scissors if that is what you have, but making the lines straight and getting it pretty accurate is very important for this pattern because of where the next line stitches. So we need to cut out the window, and you cut just on the outside of the stitches. So you don't want the stitches left, but you want to just cut beside them and get a nice clean looking edge. So the stitches will be coming out. And you just need to do it carefully so that you don't poke any extra edges. Okay, so now you can see that the hole has been cut out, and if you look at this piece, you can see that the stitches are still in it, but very, very close. So that's what you need to do. You need to get a good edge and nice and straight, and then we can add the window to this. So we turn the hoop over, and it will be going on the underside of the hoop. But I do like to make sure that it is in all the stitches so that when it is cut out, it is not going to be seen on the sides. And what I like to use for this is I like to use my Wonder Tape. So I'm going to put a little bit of Wonder Tape on here. And that way it helps me stick it down nice and tight. And then you just peel that back and place it over, making sure that it is not outside any of the stitching. So you don't want to see the Wonder Tape on the outside either. So you need to make sure it's not sticking close to that, and that it's not sticking out any of the other sides. I'm just going to push that down and bring it a little bit closer so that you can have a look. And this is the edge of the ID holder here. So you don't want to bring it past that because you don't want it sticking out the sides after you're going to cut it out. The next thing we need to do is we need to take it back to the machine, and we're going to run a stitch around there to hold it in place. Now that that is done, we need to add the back piece. There we go. Now that the clear vinyl has been put in it, then it is time to add the backing piece. So you flip the hoop over, and you can see these bottom lines where we ran the placement stitches, and that needs to line up with the placement stitches on the bottom here. So I just drew it in red so that you could see it, but you need to line those up with those. And this piece goes at the top, and the top is the part with the slot hole. So you put that down, and an easier way that I find is, since you're not going to see this on the on the finished product, excuse me, then you can just put a pin through it and find that way to line it up through the holes. I find that a very good way to help get it precisely lined up. And then you will take the pins out and you can tape it into place. Right, now that it is taped into place, we can take it back to the machine, and it will be running the final stitch to hold these two pieces together. And now for the final step of doing the slot hole on this one, or on the other version, there will be an eyelet hole at the top. Okay, the ID card holder is now done, and to take it back and cut it out. Here is the finished version in the hoop. Now we cut it out. And the way I like to cut out things is with my rotary cutter. And this, for the first one I used a tearaway, but for this one I used a cutaway because I like the feeling of the cutaway. I just like the stiffness it adds to my project. So I leave roughly an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch. And there we have it all cut out. And for the slot, I just take a ruler and I just cut down the center of it, watching not to cut the stitching. And there we have it, the completed ID holder with the place in the back to put in the card, and you've got 1 card spot and 2 card spots. And if you didn't want to add the card spots, you could just do the back piece and put an embroidery on it and still have the slot at the top. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.